Hey guys, so this week we are going to be talking about laboratory safety. Before you watch my lecture, you need to go back and make sure you do your bell ringer because that's how I count that you're doing your attendance. Okay, so we're going to talk about laboratory safety or lab safety. I want you to take notes on this so you don't have to write down everything. You can kind of summarize what the rule is, okay, but you need to have all these written down, okay? So you can label these notes as lab safety. Okay, so general lab safety guidelines. So before we even start a lab in the classroom, we are going to read the entire procedure for any lab activity before beginning the activity. We are going to read this together so that way in the procedure to make sure you understand everything that you are to do for the lab. Always be safety cautious and move about the laboratory in a safe manner. Okay, if we're doing a lab, you always need to make sure that you are walking around in a safely manner, you're not bumping into things or running or anything like that. There will be no food or drink in the lab, so you can't chew gum while working in the lab. Okay, absolutely no food or drink. Follow all instructions, both written and verbal. There will be some times when you're doing a lab that the teacher will just give you verbal instructions instead of having them all written up there. Okay, so you have to make sure you pay attention to that when you're walking through the procedure. You may only work in a lab under direct supervision of your teacher. Okay, so you won't never do a lab if Ms. Wallace is not here, or even in science, in your science classes, you will not do a lab if that teacher is not there. Alright, so personal safety, long hair should be tied back, rings and loose jewelry should be removed. Most of the time I try to tell you, hey, we're having a lab on so-and-so date, so that way you know, do I need to bring a hair tie, or I don't need to wear any loose jewelry. Okay, you're going to wear your personal protective equipment, or your PPE as some people call it, your personal protective equipment. When instructed, that is including your safety glasses or safety goggles, your lab coat or an apron or gloves, and there's more to that. And then you're going to wear long sleeves and pants and closed-toed shoes when needed. Okay, I prefer you to wear closed-toed shoes at any point if we're doing a lab, just because that's what you're supposed to. And then, of course, absolutely no running or no horseplay. You are to report any and all injuries or accidents to your teacher immediately. If we're doing a lab, even if you accidentally smash your hand, you need to let me know immediately. Okay, you need to wash your hands frequently. We will go through the process of how to correctly wash your hands. Keep your hands away from your face, eyes, and mouth. You may be messing with something that not really a chemical, but if you're messing with something that could irritate your eyes, that's why you got to keep your hands away from your eyes or your face. Okay, do not smell or taste lab materials or chemicals. Okay, if any chemicals come into contact with your eyes, immediately flush the area with water and notify your teacher. Okay, with this one, if you get something in your eye, you need to automatically go ahead and start flushing your eyes and just have your lab partner tell me that, you've got something in your eye. If glass is broken, do not clean it up. Let the teacher know so the teacher can clean it up. If you break one of my flasks, don't clean it up yourself. Just come get me and I'll handle it instead of you. Alright, so equipment safety, you're going to keep your area, your work area and lab areas neat and clean. If we're doing a lab, I don't want anything on your desk, so that way it's staying neat and clean. Dry your hands if we're handling any electrical equipment. So if you've just washed your hands and you're going to unplug something, make sure your hands are completely dry. I say most of the time, after you wash your hands, try giving it between 30 seconds to a minute before touching any electrical equipment. And then unplug cords by pulling by the plug and not the cord. So you shouldn't unplug something by pulling on the cord. You should pull it by the plug. Keep the lab equipment in its proper place when not in use. Being that you're trying to stay so tidy, where we have our lab equipment is where it needs to go back. So where you get it from is where it needs to go back. Alright, so know the location and the use of all safety equipment in the lab and in the location of all the exits in the room. In my room, we have 2 doors. You have one on the left and one on the right. Okay, make sure you read all the labels, and then lab material, never leave work area or the lab. So you're never going to take something home. Okay, so that is it for the lecture. Okay, so make sure you watch this, and if you still have any questions, email me, and when you're doing your assignments, you can always go back and review the lecture.